everybody. What is going on? How's the audio? Can you hear me through the...
Nice and clear.
Everybody hear me online? Can you see me? Can you hear me? Can you feel me? What's going on? One Step Prep TV, Joe Munoz, Juan Dominguez, J&J team, your friends in training program success. We're live from the 305 in Miami, Florida. Okay, if you're in Miami, come check us out right now. We're going to put you on screen with us right here. If you're not, call into the show, 1-888-778-1441. I'm going to put the number in the chat, 888-778-1441. There it is. If you got your questions, if you want to talk to us live, call the number in the chat. If you don't want to talk, but you do want to write something, write it up, and we will get you your answers. All right, so hey, look, today, here's what I'm talking about today. The typical profile that instructors use in sim training. And it also happens to be the most common checkride profile. Now look, this can change, of course. Examiner can do what they want, instructor can do what they want, depending on the lesson. But let me show you today the most commonly used simulator instruction profile. All right, if you come here and train with us at One Step Prep, we're going to be doing something very similar to this. So again, we could alter it as needed, but keep in mind, this is usually the most common way it goes. All right, so let me stand on up here. If at any point you can't hear me, see me, or feel me, let me know so we can go ahead and address that for you. First things first, type rating training almost always is out of Kennedy, JFK Airport. Why is it out of Kennedy Airport? Okay, if you're watching and you know the answer, send in your answer right now. Okay, the reason it's generally out of Kennedy, I'm going to tell you why. It is because, all right, let me get close to my mic here. The reason is because Kennedy has ILS, VOR, right, has a RNAV approach, it has a localizer approach, it has the ability to do circling approaches, okay, it has runways every which direction, right, it has a long runway, which is 31 left for us to do our no slat, no flap landing, or the trailing edge flap asymmetry when the flaps get stuck pretty high up. We have a long runway we can do that with. It's just very accommodating for training, period, right? I'm looking at two cameras, by the way. If you see me going back and forth, that's what's going on. All right, so, hey, for those of you just joining, 1-888-778-1441, send in your questions, or you can type them in chat, and we'll get them addressed, right? So, Kennedy Airport is the most commonly used airport in training, period. Okay, why? For the reasons already previously listed. It has the approaches, it's got the long runways, okay, it has circling approach included as well. So this is the reason why. Now watch, let me show you some other things here, okay? If at any point you can't hear me, see me, let me know, and we'll go ahead and address the issue. Okay, usually, okay, on the, the profile here, the first thing we're gonna do is start at the gate with a hot start. Okay, generally we start with a hot start or some type of start abnormal. Okay, now the start abnormal, it could be anything from a hot start, a hung start, a wet start, but 9 times out of 10, it will be a hot start. Now, why is it a hot start, Joe? Okay, why is it a hot start? Because it is the one that would require pilot action immediately, particularly for the 737. It's the one that has the highest risk of potentially damaging the engine. It's the one that could lead to a borescope inspection later on if you fry your engine. Okay, if you don't know what a borescope inspection is, all right, it's basically a little camera that we send into the mechanics, send into the engine to check for melting of any blades and stuff like that, right? So, Captain Simu, which kind of ILS? Simu later, I like the name. Samuel, what's going on? Samuel, thanks for tuning in, brother, man. What kind of ILS? Probably, are you talking about the runway? ILS 4 right, 4 left, 31 left, any ILS to any runway, right? So maybe that's what your question is. I'm not sure. If not, let me know. I'll clarify it. All right, so look, we do an abnormal start. Usually it's the hot start. Why? It runs the highest risk for us and does have immediate action items in the form of a QRH, single memory item, engine start lever to cut off, and in the form of the A320, okay, it would be FADEC, would automatically abort the start. First it'll auto crank, try another one, then it's going to abort the start, right? And then we're going to have an ECAM display come up. So it's just conducive for a good learning scenario. Now after that, we're going to taxi out, okay? And generally, look, here's the deal, folks. I'm going to use 3-1 left, okay, for the runway. Now why? Because most simulators are positioned fairly close. When you're parked at the gate, you're fairly close to 31 left. So the most common taxi route is to just go, I think it's Kilo Fox, left on Bravo, right on Kilo Delta. Okay, that's general. It's a short taxi, which means I can maximize my simulator time in the air, not taxiing around the airport. And even if I want to send you to the 4s, I can just have you cross this runway and then we'll bring you down this way and have you go off the 4s. All right, now look, let me check my YouTube stream. YouTube, what's going on, folks? Thanks for tuning in. You're live with 1StepPrep.com. Joe Munoz, J&J, team, your friends and training program success. Live in the 305, folks. So 31 left. Depart, generally one of 2 departures. JFK, I think it's up to 4 now. Or we'll do the score 3 or 4, whatever it is right now, departure. Take off from 31 left, come out this way. Now, why do we end up doing this? Okay, why do we end up doing this? Because there's 2 reasons for this. Okay, watch this. 31 left, the first reason is short taxi. We talked about that, reason number 1. The second reason I send you out on one of these 2 departures is because this is a climbing left turn, basically to the Canarsie VOR, frequency 112.3. Okay, I've done this a couple times, right? And then what I'm going to do, watch this, talk about maximizing your simulator time. I'm going to literally launch you off a 31 left, and I'm going to bring you right back on downwind for the 4s, okay? Probably 4 right. So if you notice here, the deal is that you just took off, you're in a climbing left turn, we're heading southwest bound, and now you're on downwind for 4 right, so it's very easy for me to turn you base and bring you back in on final. This is a way, if you're an instructor and you're listening to this right now, right, one of the things we always talk about is in 1-Step Prep University, folks, we just recorded 1-Step Prep University, instructor, methodology, fundamentals of instruction, how you can effectively teach your students in class, right? So one of the things I talk about there is this. You have to maximize simulator time because it's expensive. And this holds true for you as a student as well. You're paying for it, okay? And if you're not, you're at an airline, but guess what? You don't have a lot of sessions. So you got to maximize the time. So what I do is I bring you on downwind, and now right here I can have you start in the air work on the downwind leg. Right, let me take this out of here. Okay, I'll have you do your clean stall. This is if you're on a 7-3. Then what I'm going to do is turn your base over here. So we got 1 stall here, which is clean. We're going to do the base turn, which brings me into the departure stall. Okay, now the departure stall, for those of you that are 7-3 drivers, it's going to be with flaps 5, speeds about 170 and decelerating. In a turn, auto throttle's off, autopilot still on. Cool, let me check the chats really quick. If you got any questions, call into the show, 1-888-778-1441. Give me a call, we're live in the 305 with the JJ team. Let me know what your questions are, we'll get them addressed. So check it out, clean stall. Now, when you're clean means what? Clean wing, no flaps, right? And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, trainer 1, reduce speed to 170. In other words, what I'm saying, folks, is put flaps 5 out. I'm not going to tell you put flaps 5, okay? But I'm going to say reduce speed to 170. Now, you should know that a speed reduction to 170 will require flaps. This is the whole reason that I'm giving you the speed reduction. I'm not going to tell you, hey, John Doe, man, put out flaps 5. We're going to give you a left turn here. We're going to do the departure stall. No. Initially, maybe on the first lesson, I'll do that. Later on, as we approach the check ride, I'm going to say, hey, trainer 1, reduce speed to 170. I want to see your thinking. All right, slowing it back, 170, flaps coming out. Bada bing, bada boom. Turn left base. In the turn, you're going to stall. All right, and then the stall recovery. If you want to know the stall recovery, sim prep segments. Check it out, 1StepPrep.com. Go to sim prep. There's a full briefing there on how to recover from these things. Perfectly, folks. All right, here we go. So now we recover from this one. I bring you in, give you the final vector. Then I take you in on final. We do the landing stall over here, which is gear down, flaps 30. Okay, if you're in a 737. All right. And basically now I have gotten my 3 stalls out of the way. Okay, we get down to the minimums of the ILS approach. ILS approach. I'm writing with my hand backwards here. Okay, ILS 4 right. We do a missed approach. Look at all the stuff we've covered right now. Look at all the things we've already covered. We've already done an abnormal start. We did a short taxi, which allowed me to maximize the rest of my sim training with you. We did stall series. We did an ILS approach. And we already did a go-around right here, which, by the way, the go-around, I'm going to take you out, right turn. All right, I'm probably going to put you on a heading of, I'll actually bring you this way. I'll put you on a heading of 090, 5,000 feet, speed 250 knots. Now, why am I doing this? I'm continuing on the air work that I've already done. Next thing, I'm going to do steep turns. Right, with you guys. We're going to do steep turns. 180 degree turn left and right. And then we'll do the unusual attitudes. So we do the steep turns here, we do unusual attitudes, then I'm going to vector you back this way on downwind for 4 right. The whole time I'm working with 4 right. Then over here you'll do a localizer, okay? Your next approach, let me back up, will likely be a localizer approach because we already did a precision. Right now we're going to knock out a non-precision. Look, if you're in sim training, keep this in mind. This is the whole reason. This show today, One Step Prep TV today, is to cover the typical simulator instruction profile, which can vary depending upon the material that needs to be covered. But as you approach your check ride, all these items that you're seeing back here, these are things that come on a check ride. What's the exact profile? It's covered in my latest playbook right here, Joe Munoz's Type Rating Training Playbook to Success, your guide to initial, recurrent, and upgrade. Check it out. It's not available yet. We're finishing up writing the last chapter, but it'll be available soon. The whole thing's covered in there. So look, here's the deal with this. We bring you back in, you do a localizer approach, runway 4 right, okay? You're gonna land out of this. You end up landing out of this approach. Now look, when you land out of the approach, give me a second, let me check my feeds real quick. YouTube family, what's going on? On the Facebook, let me refresh my feed. Bear with me 2 seconds, folks. Let me just make sure I'm not missing anybody that's tuning in. Let me get your questions answered. All right, I think we're good. I think we's good. How's the audio back there? Still solid? What's going on, everybody? Joe Munoz, we're live in the 305, everybody. If you got your questions, call in. And if you don't want to talk to me on the phone, send me a message on the chat. All right? All right, let me open this back up. Make sure I'm capturing everything. What's going on, YouTube? Thanks for tuning in. One Step Prep TV. Joe Munoz, Juan Dominguez, your friends in training program success. We're just making sure the YouTube feed is on and not the YouTube. I'm sorry, the Facebook feed is up and going. I think it's I think it is. Just making sure all our comments are getting addressed. All right. Cool. So moving on, right? Moving on. We did the loc. We land out of this approach, and the next thing we do is we're going to be repositioned back to the runway. 4 right. It's dry information. Woo! I'm hearing myself. Let me turn this thing off. Why am I hearing myself? Check my feeds real quick. YouTube family, what's going on? There we go. All right. We're good. I turned it all off. So, all right, cool. Sorry for the feedback. We were hearing ourselves there. All right, so look, 4, let me go back to this. 4 right. Okay, reposition to 4 right. Now look, your single engine work in Kennedy, it's almost always going to be off of the 4s. It can't be off of it's not going to be off of the northwest runway, off of the 3-1s. Why not? It's not going to be off of the 3-1s because look, over here, you got some buildings, man. You got a little downtown going on. So we can't be doing single engine work because look, here's another thing. When you have the V1 cut, a lot of you guys, you're going to request runway heading, maintain minimum vector altitude, right? Which is fine, okay? Which is fine, but don't get used to that because maybe you can't have runway heading. Maybe you have a mountain at the end of the, like if you're in Bogota, Colombia and you take off, you're not doing runway heading, folks. I'm going to tell you that right now. It ain't going to happen. So look, here's one of the other deals. At the end of 31 left, you got buildings, you got obstructions. So maybe you cannot go straight, all right? So this is why, now look, in training, That's why we put you on the 4s, because I can take you out here. There's nothing but water out here. So I can take you straight out, and for the purpose of training the stick and rudder skills first, I don't want to complicate it too much with having to do turns while you're trying to figure out your rudder pressure, etc. So generally in training, we'll get you off the 4s and take you out over the water. You can get runway heading, etc. Now look, you do your single engine stuff, you come back in, and you're going to do a single engine ILS approach, single engine ILS, to runway 4 right, okay? Now, let me ask you this question. Do you think you're going to go around, or do you think you're going to land out of this? Okay, good question here. Am I going to go around? If you're watching on YouTube right now, type it in comments. Are you going around, or are you landing on the single engine ILS? If you're watching on Facebook, are you going around, or are you going to be landing on this? Captain Alex, what's going on, brother? Thanks for tuning in on Facebook. If you have a question, comment or call 1-888-778-1441 and I'll answer it with you live. So check it out. Single engine ILS approach, 4 right. You will go around. 100%. You're going around. If you answered go around when I asked that question a few minutes ago, you just won a free trip to Hawaii and a brand new Mercedes-Benz. Sort of. All right? So being that you're going to go around, you're going to come back, get vectored again. We're going to come back in. We're going to do a single engine ILS to a landing. Now look, when you do the landing here, okay, be expecting some type of fire either on the touchdown or on short final or something. Why, Joe? Why am I going to get a fire? Right? This is the question. How come I'm going to get a fire? Because it's part of the check ride. It's part of the profile that we have to see in evacuation, and the evacuation will be prompted by giving you a fire at some point. So likely it'll be the last one here. The reason we give the evac later on, why do we give the evac towards the end of this, the deal? Okay, now it doesn't have to be this way, but generally we give it towards the end of the sim event because whenever we cut all AC power, we're going to depower our FMSs, our McDo's, we're going to lose the entire flight plan. So if I'm trying to have you shoot back to the end of the runway, reposition, and do a bunch of work in the sim, I need the flight plan to be retained in there. But if we're almost done, right, I'd rather do the evac later on so that when we cut AC power, we lose both boxes and we lose the whole flight plan. I don't care because the session's almost over, right? I'm dropping nuggets of knowledge here for you all. If you're an instructor, take notes on this so you can maximize your training event. Check out 1Step Prep University. We just recorded it. And if you're a student, type rating, playbook to success, all this stuff I'm talking about right now, in depth, written right here. It's on 1stepprep.com. Check it out. So look, single engine ILS approach, we come down to minimums. We have probably some form of a fire, and then we end up landing the bird. Land the airplane, relax, come to a stop. This is the thing, okay, where everybody's trying to do the evacuation checklist by memory. One of the biggest mistakes you can make is try to do an evac check by memory. It's not memory, right? So bring the airplane to a stop, set the brake, put the dome light on, ask tower, if visibility permits. Hey, we got an indication of a fire. Do you see any fire out there? Okay, maybe it's a light bulb. Okay, probably not in the simulator. It's actually a real fire, right? But maybe it's a light bulb problem. Maybe you don't really have a fire. Every time you evacuate, keep this in mind, folks. If you're taking notes, write this down. Every time there is an evacuation, there's usually some form of injuries. Okay, whether it's a broken ankle or a sprained wrist or something like that. Something always happens usually. So I'm not trying to be evac happy unless it's a true fire. Of course, if it's fire and there's smoking or whatever, we're gone, man, we're out. But keep that in mind. So let me recap for that. For those of you that are just tuning in right now on the Facebook, on the YouTube, what's going on to the One Step Prep training family, call us 1-888-778-1441. We'll answer your questions live from the 305 with the JJ team, your friends in training program success. Taxi to 31 left, blast off. Come on to downwind, base leg, and final approach for 4 right, which will be an ILS. The reason we're doing it this way is because by taking you out like this, I get you right back in the pattern for an ILS into the northeast runway, which is 4, left and right. Okay? Do the clean stall, do the departure stall, do the landing stall. This is if you're in 7-3 training. If you're 320 training, it'll be some other form of air work. Probably going to be flight control laws, a laws demo. Okay, here's normal law, here's alternate, here's abnormal attitude, here's how we get into direct law. Okay, that's where we'll do all that. And then we'll do the stalls, then we'll come back in on an ILS approach. Generally, that's the way that thing runs, right? Then we get down to mins, 4 right, do a missed approach, do steep turns, unusual attitudes, come back in for a localizer, land, and then we do the single engine operations, single engine ILS, go around single engine landing with an evac on short final somewhere. Okay, either as soon as we touch down, right? Or on short final, maybe 500 feet, below 1,000 feet, somewhere like that. Captain Kef, thanks for tuning in, brother. We appreciate you here on Facebook feed. For those of you watching on YouTube as well, we appreciate you all. Leave your questions and comments, or you can call into the show. Phone number, nice and big here for everybody. 1-888. Everybody knows it by now. 778-1441. That is our phone number if you want to talk live right now. I'm here and I'm ready to go for you. All right, so look, so that's the whole deal. Hopefully that makes sense. Here it is. Woo! What a toss, man. What a toss. Can we see this? 18887. Oh, we got some notes on here, though. What is this? Let me take this off. Hey! All right. 1-888-778-1441. Call into the show right now. All right. If you want a free trip to Hawaii and a brand new Mercedes-Benz, call in to the JJ team, your friends in training program success. Hopefully that stays right there. So we're talking today about the normal simulator instruction profile. If you're an instructor, this is what I could recommend that you use to maximize time. But look, everything varies from session to session, right? Because maybe you got to go through manual reversion. Maybe you have to go through loss of hydraulic system A. You got to go through a manual gear extension, right? In the train, this is really the profile we went through here. Truthfully, is as you approach the check ride, so we can cover all the things that are in the practical test standards, the PTS, right? But later on, all right, I'm looking at two cameras. If you see me going back and forth, we're multitasking here, live in a 305. That's what's going on, folks. So look, that is the profile as we approach the check ride, right? Now, in training, it will basically be as needed to accommodate whatever's on the syllabus for the day, right? I may not have you go off 31 left. I may have you take off to the north, to the northeast, off of the 4s, which I took off there, right? Maybe I want to bring you out to the east. I want to have you do something over there with hydraulics or manual reversion or whatever. Then I'm going to bring you back in. So everything kind of varies, but as you approach check ride, this profile that you just saw behind me here is a good way that you can probably expect your instructor is going to go through that particular scenario in order to ensure that he or she covers everything that's on the PTS. All right, let me check my chat. If you're fresh into the show right now, this is the phone number to call, 1-888-778-1441. We will answer your questions live right now. All right, and otherwise, hey, just type it in chat. Okay, just type it in the chat and we'll get it answered over there. Captain Kev, what's Kev saying? Say hi from Panama, guys. Really good working for you. For you doing to get easily a type rating was an awesome point of view. Keep going. Captain Kev, brother, what's going on, Panama? What's happening? We appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate you, Kev, for your positive comments, your positive vibe and feedback. It is much, much appreciated. And hey, man, we just have fun. We enjoy doing what we're doing, and we're glad that we can pass it on to you. Captain Alex, question about this procedure. Come in on an ILS approach, glide slope, PIC already captured, or glide slope is captured, okay. Tower changes you to another runway. You activate secondary flight plan with the other runway VORDME approach. How? A little bit more, I think, to go on this. Finish up talking, Alex, or typing, and I'll get that addressed. Let me tell you, okay, so he brings up a good point right now. This is Alex on the YouTube feed. Changing runways. Okay, the first thing is if the tower offers you the runway change. And they're like, hey, trainer one, runway, the left side's available. Maybe it's the inboard and it's closer to your gate. This happens in real life, by the way. Okay, let's say you're going into a, what's a good example of this? I guess maybe, I'll just use Fort Lauderdale. All right, we got 10 left and 10 right. So we got, here's the left and here is the right. Here's your terminal in between. Maybe you're parking over here and they have you coming in on this approach. And you're like, man, now I'm going to have to land. I'm going to have to back taxi this way, go around the terminal, come over here, right? Whereas if you were to land over here, you would just turn off and you're right and you're going home right away, right? Here's the thing. So they might offer it to you and they'll say, hey, trainer one, the left side's available for you. Would you prefer the runway? Okay, now look, everything here depends. How low of an altitude am I at? Is it visual? Is it IMC? right? There's a few different variables that go into this. I usually am hesitant to change runways because I've already loaded another runway. I've already briefed another runway. I'm already mentally prepared for another runway. I've already briefed the taxi from a different runway. And I don't like changing. My descent planning has already been calculated based on landing that runway. I'm not a big fan of changing runways. Unless it's visual, clear in a million, right? I can simply disconnect the autopilot. This is another thing for those of you, okay? Don't try to, depending on altitude, don't try to fly your way to the parallel runway using the autopilot if you're not proficient enough yet with the FCU or the MCP. Because when you're that close to the runway, your flight path has to change so fast that your hands cannot do it fast enough on the FCU or the MCP. Right? So keep that in mind. If your flight path needs to change faster than what you can manipulate controls, click the autopilot off and hand fly the jet. Okay, so Captain Alex, the first thing is maybe I don't change runways. If they need me to change runways, they say, hey, no, expect such and such runway, and it's a totally different one. You're talking about a 320 because you have it in a secondary flight plan. What do? Select heading, activate secondary, and then usually at that point you can manage nav. The terminology would be select heading, activate secondary, manage nav. Does that make sense, Alex? I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, let me know. I'll hit it from a different angle. But let me go back to your question, make sure I got it. Come in on an ILS approach, glide slope already captured. Tower changes you to another runway, you activate secondary flight plan. Oh, so you have the glide slope already captured, yeah. Well, you could do the same thing, right? You could still do the same thing. You would still have to get off of it, okay, and then activate secondary, and then you get back with the approach mode. Remember, you're gonna have to rearm the approach mode here. Approach mode, autopilot 2, and then read the FMA. I'm not a big fan of changing runways. If I already have the glide slope captured, how far out am I, Alex? You know, I wouldn't really try to change it, to be honest with you. What else we got going on? Captain Hookah, what's going on, man? Thanks for tuning in with JJ Team live in the 305. Call us 1-888-778-1441. Alex, I hope that answers. Super thanks. No worries, brother. Thanks for tuning in and for asking the questions. If you have any other questions, folks, let me know. Alex asked a good question, which is if I'm on the approach and the glide slope's captured and Tower wants me to change runways, this isn't a 320, how would we go about doing it? Hopefully you have it in the secondary. You can activate the secondary flight plan. If it's visual and I'm close in, I would not do anything with the box, to be honest. Okay, this is another thing. Everybody's like, oh no, I gotta put something in the McDo, I gotta put something in the FMS. No, you don't. You don't gotta put nothing, man. If it's visual approach, I don't need to put nothing. See what I'm saying? Can y'all hear me okay? Let me grab my microphone. Can you hear me okay? All right, you do not need to put anything in there. If it's clear and visual day, birds are singing, okay? I'm just gonna autopilot off and I'm gonna parallel. I'm just gonna coast on over to the other runway. Make sense? Captain Kev, what do we got going on? Running an ILS approach, transitioning from RNAV app to get the LOC, 25-degree turn. At that point, the approach mode got the LOC, glide slope. Why the aircraft gets ANU abruptly, a glide slope antenna's issue maybe. Are you on the 7.3 or on the 320 there, brother man? I think you're 7.3 if I remember correctly. Transitioning from RNAV to the LOC. 25-degree turn at one point. Approach mode got the LOC. Okay, I'm with you, glide slope. So, first, are you 7.3 or 320? And 737. Yeah, so keep something in mind, Captain Kev. By the way, what do I do with my eraser? See, I throw stuff everywhere and then I can't find my stuff. So look, 737 Max Edition videos coming. I don't know, brother. It's possible. What do you think, man? JD, what should we do with that? 737 Max?
Yes, sir.
I got Juan here with me. He says we should do it. What do you think? Take a vote, yes or no? All right. More than likely, folks, we're going to do it all, my friends. We're going to do everything. So to answer your question, Kev, you know it's coming, my friend. You know it's coming. So look, here's the deal. Here's the dealio. Let me see if I understand you correctly with this. What you're saying is you're coming in on this approach from here, and you're going to do a LOC, and then all of a sudden it changes to an RNAV approach, I think you said. right? Now look, on the MCP, when you do a localizer approach, you're gonna push loc on the MCP, and loc, it's going to capture a ground-based navigation aid that shoots a signal up and the airplane captures it, right? This is the difference, by the way, between utilizing, like doing an RNAV approach with LNAV and then doing a non-precision loc using the loc push button. So when you push loc, it captures, there's a little antenna here. You with me? And it shoots this signal out and the airplane captures it. The deal with RNAV, though, is that the RNAV approach, this line does not come from a ground-based signal. It actually comes from two GPS antennas that are on the 737NG. These two antennas, right? Where are they powered from? Anybody who's watched the 7.3 electrical video, man, where are my two GPS antennas powered from? What's going on? All right? It's going to capture this line and come on in based on a magenta line that is completely satellite navigation. And so there may be a slight abrupt change in your lateral control because it's going from a satellite-based nav tracking to a ground-based. And maybe that's what's going on with you, Captain Kef. I'm not sure if that's exactly what it is. But it sounds, brother man, like that's what it would be. So let me just go back and make sure I addressed it. Transitioning RNAV to get the loc. Yeah, okay, sure. ILS, transitioning to RNAV to get the loc. Yeah, maybe I'm answering it wrong because I'm not reading it correctly, brother, but if it's what I think it is, I think what's going on is you're transitioning from ground-based signals to satellite-based navigation. And as a result of that, the airplane kind of, gets a little jumpy momentarily, okay? I think that's what it is if I'm reading your question correctly. All right, if you're just tuning in right now, this is the phone number to call. 1-888-778-1441. Juan and Joe, the J&J team. Captain JD is in the house, man. Juan is here with us today, but I'm just doing a little different briefing here on 1StepPrepTV. We're talking, the show actually is about the typical simulator training profile that you can expect as you approach your check ride. All right, if you're in chat on YouTube, on Facebook, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you all. You can call the number or you can type and we will get back to you. All right. What else is going on here? 1Step Prep University. If you're an instructor, if you're a training center, if you are an airline and you want to have your instructors optimize their delivery of instruction, check out 1Step Prep U. It is a fundamentals of instruction course delivered by yours truly, Joe Munoz, Juan Dominguez, the J&J team. Okay, we basically show you exactly how we do what we do. At 1Step Prep, folks, if you don't know by now, we guarantee your success. If you do not have success, it is our fault, not yours. And we take full accountability. Why? Because clearly there was a piece of data that you needed that we did not communicate to you. Okay, so training center and training organizations and airlines, your instructors need this level of confidence for you to cut remedial training costs, for you to grow your reputation as a 142 school if you happen to be a training center. This is what you need, folks. Okay, shout out to Alliance Aviation. They're on the 1Step Prep U platform. We appreciate you all. So what else? What other questions do we have? Does the instruction profile that I laid out make sense? Remember, you're going to train in Kennedy. Okay, why am I training in Kennedy? I got all the approaches I need, including circling. If you're doing FAA training, you will do circling. If you're doing, listen to what I'm telling you right now. If you are doing an FAA type rating at a training center, not at an airline, usually airlines don't pay for your circling restriction removal, but at a training center, you're going to be doing a circling approach. Kennedy can do the circling approach. Kennedy has runways every direction. I can land any way. We got a long runway for when I do the no flap, no slat approach, or when I do the trailing edge flap asymmetry approach. We got RNAV localizer, VOR approaches, circling is mentioned. So it's just a good airport to do training at. So you're going to expect to be up in the JFK region, my friends. All right, when we cut this live feed, go back, you'll be able to replay it. And then if you're not sure of anything we just talked about, just go back and replay it. All right, we're going to have it posted up, Facebook, YouTube, etc. Any other questions? This is the phone number. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Kef, I hope I answered your questions. If I didn't, let me know. Let me know. Let me know. The chat, by the way, is kind of slow. It takes a second to update. That's what I'm noticing right now. So if you are asking something and I'm not getting to you, I promise you it's not because we're ignoring you at all. It's just because I'm not seeing it. All right? So that's probably what's happening. Send me an email. What's going on? We have a visitor here. Hey. Oh. All right, hey, we got some people here at our office today visiting us, so we're going to end up cutting the feed right now. Hopefully I answered all your questions. Let me put my email address up here. Okay, joe.m@onestepprep.com, joe.m@onestepprep.com. If you have any questions that I did not get to here, maybe because I didn't see it or you weren't here at that time, send it here or call his phone number and we'll get to you 100%, folks. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. Check out the new playbook to type rating success. Check out 1stepprep.com. Juan and Joe, the J&J team, live in the 305. We love working with you all. We appreciate you tuning in, folks. Thanks for being here with us today.